Okay, so today I want to talk fireplaces, but I want to start at the beginning. I just built this fireplace last summer, and the most important thing is from the very beginning, getting all the aspects of building it proper so that you can use it. And so let's start with the foundation of the chimney. This is all made of stone. There's a flue tile lining. Tons upon tons of stone. So it must be on solid ground. This one is on bedrock. When I dug the footer for the cabin, I hit solid rock. It varied here and there, so my footer for this is actually in the basement under the concrete floor. Runs from 6 inches deep on this side to 30 inches deep on this side because that's where the stone shelf was. So it is sitting on solid bedrock. It was poured with the concrete floor, so it's all locked into the concrete floor. So first off, now I know it can't go anywhere. Second, the foundation in the basement I built with concrete blocks. But because this was going to be so heavy, I also filled those concrete blocks with solid concrete, so that the weight of this didn't actually crush those man-made block. And the hearth extension and the hearth have no wood under it. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make when they build a fireplace, is they run the floor that they're building right up to the fireplace, and what happens is when you build a fire for an extended period of time, it catches the floor on fire just in front of the fireplace. So there is no wood under this. It is 12 inches of solid concrete, tapered down, of course, for the hearth extension. If this cabin was gone, everything that you see here would still stand. It is on that solid of bedrock. I don't know if you've ever been just driving down the road and seen a fireplace standing there and no house. It's because it withstood that house falling down around it, and it's still standing straight. This would do the same. Now let's move up to sizing the fireplace. One of the, if there's any one thing that I know the most when it comes to any of this cabin stuff, it's the fireplace. I've been a chimney sweep my entire life. I know every aspect of a fireplace and chimney. So the size that is required for a fireplace to operate properly is the flue must be 10% of this opening. So in my case, and I wrote down some numbers here, and I'll put a small screenshot of this on there. In my case, I've got an opening that's 44 inches wide and 41 inches tall. That's 1,804 square feet. So I need at least 180 square inches in my flue, okay? So what I used was a 17 by 17 flue tile, which gives me 289 square inches. I'm actually closer to 16% than I am 10. Now, the art of engineering something is the art of knowing what's the minimum you can get away with. And 10% is your minimum. If you have a square flue, you can go a little bit lower if you have a round flue. But because I'm at 16%, I can change some of the other variables. Like, I built this thing for cooking. When you put a big pot over top of a fire, now that fire has to wrap around that pot, and you've changed some of those variables. I might have the smoke that actually wants to be pushed into the room by the pot. So now, because I've got that 16%, I can deal with a little bit of this. So it'll suck that smoke back in, or when I'm using the rotisserie, and I'm going to make a video doing a lot of the different cooking stuff over the years, but I've got a rotisserie here. I actually drag the fire completely in front of the fireplace. It's not even in the fireplace, but I have enough draft that it still sucks all the smoke back into the fireplace and up the chimney. I don't have to deal with smoke in the house. So that's really important. Next, the damper that you open and close. That damper has to be set at least 8 to 10 inches above the opening, because when your chimney is cold, that smoke is going up because heat rises, but yet it's not going up real good. So it'll sit there and it'll roll a little bit at that damper area. until it's turn to get sucked in, until you get the flue warmed up. And then once that flue is warmed up, it just goes. So that's second. Smoke chamber is next. So above this opening, my damper is here. This is a big upside down funnel here that funnels from this big opening into that 17 by 17. So when you make that transition, these walls should be nice and smooth. You know, a lot of the chimneys I clean, you know, people didn't really know what they were doing, or they didn't care, and they're staggered, there's blocks, there's holes in the blocks, and that just makes for a dragged area for that smoke to have to try to get around. And it just doesn't work real well. Will it work? Sure, it'll work. But not as nice as a nice smooth surface. I mean, when that is smooth up in there, the smoke just wants to take off and go. So you don't have to deal with smoke. The next big key is how tall the chimney is. Draft is caused from stack effect. So you have hot air stacked on top of hot air, and the more hot air that's stacked on top of that hot air, the more push you get. So the taller the chimney is by design, the better it's going to draft. Now there comes a point when that smoke starts to cool off and it doesn't become effective anymore. But like with this cabin, I'm probably 25, 26 feet to the peak. It's a small cabin. So my chimney is 30 feet tall, let's just say. So I've got 30 feet of hot air stacked on top of hot air to get pushing this thing up. The second is that termination. It needs to be at least 3 feet above the peak. Now, the rule of thumb is 2 feet taller than anything within 10 feet. But if you're coming above the peak, you're automatically, there's nothing else around you. So 3 feet out of the peak of the roof. And that is the best place to have it. I can't even tell you how many times I've went to a house and they've got this beautiful fireplace and they can't use it because they built it in the wrong area. By code, it's perfect. It is 2 feet taller than anything within 10 feet, but that extra chimney sticking above the roof line might cool down too much. When they burn it, the house stinks like creosote. Chimneys belong where this one is. On the end of a house. If you can do it inside like this one is, perfect, because then it stays warm all winter and you always have an upward flow of air and you never get that downflow that stinks. So inside's best. If you have to go on the outside, it definitely should be built at a gable end all the way to the peak and then past, of course. Chimney caps, you probably should have a chimney cap on it. I do not. I don't have a screen over the front either. These are things they just didn't have back then, and as much as safety is an issue, I really like the look of this. I don't go far from it when it's burning. So this is the way it'll be. I'm not putting a screen on it. I'm not putting doors on it. I don't normally use a grate. I have different grate systems that I can use from time to time. I don't. I put it on the floor because this is kind of like they would have done back then. That floor will definitely get much hotter with it sitting on the floor like that. But again, there's nothing under it. It's solid concrete. There's nothing down there to catch on fire. I'm not concerned. So anyway, I think I hit pretty much everything. And like I had mentioned, you know, this has the crane for cooking, and I do my coffee in there. And I got all different kinds of set racks that I use for cooking in there. And there's already a couple videos on my channel, but I'll make a couple more over the years and get as many of those posted as I can with different recipes. So anyway, I hope this helps someone to build their own fireplace, their own stone. There is another video on my page as far as like the kind of mortar I used and those things. One thing I had forgot to mention is, like, I burn this thing pretty hot from time to time. Stone heat doesn't go through stone very well because it has so much airspace in it. But sandstone are not the strongest stone in the world. I mean, if you put a sandstone in an open fire, it will break down relatively quick. The hottest place on this fireplace is right there behind the fire, because when I get a really hot fire going, the air that flows in here pushes air past the ember pile, kind of like forging steel, and it pushes it right into that back wall. So that's why that big iron plate is sitting there. That is to absorb that bulk of that heat and help keep those stones from falling apart in the back. If you've ever seen the inside of a fireplace, that's the first place it falls apart. So I try to protect that the best I can, so that I can use this thing for a long time. So anyway, enjoy the video. I hope it was informative to you. If you have any questions, please comment, and I will answer anything I can. Thank you.